All right, Kevin, back with you for another episode of the $1 Million Relationships Podcast. And today I'm here with Bill Kasko. Bill, welcome. So awesome to have you on the show
Uh,
today.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it. It's an honor to be here. I'm excited.
Yeah, I have been looking forward to this. You and I got to connect earlier and just had just a really great conversation. Got to know you a little bit, and of course, it solidified my intention to have you as a guest on the podcast and stuff. And I want to start off though, but I want to give a shout out to Jessica and the folks over at the podcast guests platform because Jessica, she reaches out to me every once in a while. I mean, every once in a while, a couple times a month typically, and she recommends podcast guests for me. And she recently recommended you. And what's really cool about Jessica, Bill, is that she's been doing this with me for a while. We did this thing a couple of years ago, and we just had a really great experience with it. And I got us some really great podcast guests. And ever since then, it's kind of like Jessica's kind of taken me under her wing. And every couple of weeks I get a message from her. And Bill, what's really cool is not once has she steered me wrong yet. Every single person that she has recommended ended up being a great guest for the podcast. So now whenever I get an email from her, I'm like, ooh, this is like Christmas time. I wonder what's in here today.
That's a lot of pressure, Kevin. I'm just going to tell you, I don't want to be the one that breaks it.
You're going to be just fine.
Uh,
You're going to be just fine, Bill. I already know. I mean, I'll tell. I don't want to ruin the conversation here, but this is going to be an amazing conversation, and it's going to be yet another testament to what this relationship or what this podcast is all about, which is the value of right relationships. And I am really looking forward to this conversation with you today, Bill. And so, what I want to do is, I just want to start by turning it over to you, so we can set a little bit of context. And I'm gonna kind of lump all this together, but I'm just gonna let you run with it and go with what just feels right to you as well. I'm gonna give you a little bit of leeway there, but I want you to share, a little bit about what you guys do, who you serve, what inspires you most about the work and the impact you guys are making in this world, the work you guys are doing, and also maybe share a little bit of the backstory too about how you even got into doing this kind of work, Bill.
oh, yeah, appreciate it so very much, Kevin. So I am currently the president and CEO of an executive search and professional staffing agency that we are headquartered in Dallas, Texas,
Okay.
called Frontline Source Group. Been doing this and running the company for 21 years now. Started this with a passion to really do something different in life. Originally, to help people, and still it's still like that, is obviously to help people, but obviously from a different point of view, and that was that you can still treat people as individuals and we place individuals with companies, so we're recruiters, work with companies, but we do it one person at a time. And so we build relationships with individuals and based on their skill set and what they're looking for from either a career change or an opportunity that comes about. And it really started from, all the way back for me about just building relationships, about the fundamentals of a work ethic, a different way of doing things. And when I got into this business, I fell in love with it. I had an incredible opportunity to go to work for a Fortune 500 within this space originally. And so 25 years ago, I get into this business and it's a lot different. I mean, you look at the last 5 years and how much we've changed, but 25 years, my gosh, that's not the same at all. And I remember going to work for this company, and I really didn't care how much I was going to be paid. It was just the idea of taking knowledge that I had and sitting down with people and having conversations and learning about them and then matching them up, like almost dating in a certain way. It was like matchmaking and everything. But the first time I had any success, I came home and had dinner with my family, and our daughter was telling her the story, and my daughter looked at me and said, "You're the greatest dad ever." And that was it. I mean, that was the point at which I went, okay, I don't care anymore. This is what I'm going to have to do. And so we really started the business off, just myself, started building the business. And I promised my wife I wasn't going to grow something huge. We weren't going to get big. And years later, she looked at me at a Christmas party that we had, I don't know, 100 something people in our home and all the employees. And she looked at me and said, we're not going to grow this thing. We're not going to get big, right? That's what the plan is. And I said, well, I don't know what to tell you, but that we built it on these pillars and fundamentals of a way to treat people because of just the way that, I guess in a lot of ways, the way that I was raised and what I grew up on as an individual that was built around the work ethic, the family values, and living your way in life in a way that you were always giving back. And it wasn't until years later that I really discovered that it was all about the people that I had grown up and been surrounded with, a process of living my life and the service that I did give back. And so it's interesting that you had reached out and we're having this conversation, because when I look back at what kind of pushed me to get to this point, it wasn't some easy, quick road to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes all of us want something nice, quick, and easy. But the reality of it is sometimes you have to fall down. In fact, sometimes you have to fall down 3 or 4 times. And even when you think you're successful, you're tested and you realize you're really not. And you learn from those things. And so part of this goes back to high school days and having a job, or really fundamentals of a family value of a parents who had a strong work ethic. I was the oldest of 4 kids. Actually, I still am the oldest of 4 kids. And but our father was the oldest of like 9 or 12 kids, I guess, at one point within their family, growing up in Detroit during the Depression, with a paper route. His grandfather was a barber. My dad paid his way through NYU law school from paper routes and taking back bottles and saving money from bottle caps or something. I don't even know what that means anymore. But, he had a work ethic of showing up extra early and leaving extra late. And that's how he raised us. And it didn't matter that we grew up in a family with a well-known attorney, very successful. We never had issues when it came to financial burdens like a lot of others did. And yet you would never have known that. You would never have known that, for example, my brother and I, at the age of, I was 11 years old and I had a paper route. At 12, I had 2 paper routes and was a caddy at Oakland Hills Country Club outside of Detroit. Mm-hmm. At 13 years old, we had 3 paper routes. We outsourced one of them. I brought my brother in. He was doing one. I was washing dishes at night at a fast food kind of establishment and lying about my age. All the time, not an issue. My parents, my dad pushing us and going to private Catholic school, because that's the way he was raised. He taught us that you work hard for anything you want in life. And I didn't really realize that until years later, when you really get that first opportunity in moving forward in another career. And that was, we had moved from Detroit to Dallas, and I went to work for a grocery company while I was in high school and was bagging groceries, and found out that it was actually kind of neat. I mean, I was able to meet people and talking to people all the time, but I also was learning and listening something new, something of an industry that I really had no idea how a grocery store operated, or how did the box get on the shelf for the food. I just knew we went, we paid, we left, we ate. And so it was very interesting that as I'm going through this, I'm learning from individuals and they're teaching me a new skill set. And I'm starting to see that there's an opportunity for growth. Graduating from high school, and unfortunately, my parents got divorced literally as I was getting out of high school. And unfortunately, our father said, "Good luck, guys," and left. And we had to figure out what we were going to do. And at that moment, I didn't know what I was going to do. And so had already been building these relationship with mentors within this grocery chain, which I'm proud. It's a company out of Tyler, Texas called Brookshire Grocery Company. And they said, we have a scholarship program. And boy, I had to have been the deer in the headlights, because I'm like, what are you talking about? because I thought this is that a God thing that all of a sudden somebody's telling me I can still go to college next semester. There's an opportunity. Of course, I'm thinking to myself, I've only been working here for like 3 or 4 months. I mean, how could I even qualify for that?
Mm-hmm.
And they said, well, you've got to talk to the regional director over the whole territory. And of course, here I am, this 17-year-old kid going, I don't even know what that means. I'm bagging groceries.
Mm-hmm.
What do I need to do,
Yeah.
basically?
Yeah.
And they said, well, he's in here. He sees you all the time. We told him you're a hard worker. He likes you. He's all about the work ethic. We'll make the connection. And so these other managers made a connection, and I had an opportunity for the second or third time to really sit down with a gentleman by the name of Ronnie Horton. And Mr. Horton was the best way to explain it. I called him a grizzly bear because he just was this very big, powerful East Texas. And if you don't know East Texas, it was a good guy, but he would scare the bejesus out of you just standing next to him. I mean, you would just shake. But then I realized he really wasn't that bad. He was really just a bear, and you just had to understand him. And I sat down, had a conversation, walked him through where I was at, and he said, "Well, fill out these documents, get them back to me, and we'll send them to the vice president of HR." And I'm thinking, "Oh, great! I got to go through more of this." And about 2 days later, he called me and said, "Hey, they want you to come out to Tyler and visit. You need to go visit with the board and the VP of HR." And I said, "Okay, you got it." And I drove out and visited with them and sat down. And I thought, there's no way. I just spoke from my heart. And they called me the next day and said, they would be honored to award me a scholarship. And that was a changing, pivotal point in my life, because my mom was a single mom, 3 siblings, younger, and it was a difficult time because our dad basically walked out,
Yeah.
and she had to figure out how to make ends meet. But this was something that was a lot of pressure on her. She was concerned, and I said, I got it. Don't worry about me. Take care of them. I've got it. And I did, and I ended up being able to go to college, to work at the same time, worked up in the rankings, from a bagger to a stalker to a night manager to a day manager to an assistant store manager, was moved around to different locations, and progressed in a career. And at Mr. Horton and I, that relationship grew. It was an unbelievable opportunity for me to really have almost, it's always difficult to replace a father figure in your life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think it's virtually impossible, especially when you've been around a father for 16 years. But our father wasn't that I'm going to put my arm around you kind of guy. He was very black and white, cut and dry. And Mr. Horton wasn't. And he was a gentleman that he ruled, and we worked for him. We worked to really satisfy and please him, to be the best that we could possibly be, to always be a step above, but to really listen and learn from him.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I learned most of all from him was about, well, a lot, but surrounding myself with people that were better than me, and understanding that you're only as good as the people that are around you. And he really, it resonated, because he would kind of look at you and say that.
Yeah.
And you knew you were in that circle, and it was something that I really took to heart. But also listening, listen to people, listen more than you speak, take it in and understand that no two stories are the same.
Yeah.
And there were all these just little pieces that he hit me with, at different times. So I'm at Berkshire's for almost 8, 9 years, but the retail side is it's very hard on people. It's a very difficult career to be in. 12-hour days, some days 6, 7 days a week before you got a day off, every weekend. I couldn't see myself having a family. I couldn't see myself going down. I just couldn't see it. I didn't see it happening, and I had to be honest with him. I was making a great living. but I had to be honest and say this wasn't something for me long term. I just didn't see it. And I felt like I was lying and not being honest to someone that I truly cared about. And decided it was time to move on, and
Okay.
decided to go in a different route and make a change. And so I left Brooksters, and went on to do something different. It's a funny story. About 5 years after I left, I was playing golf with a bunch of buddies and at a new golf course, and there was a hole we were playing on, and all these new homes were being built. And there
Okay.
was a home under construction right on the corner of it, and it was just framed. They had just put, I guess actually they put the windows in, but that's it. And I don't know what I did, but I hit that ball, and it didn't go where I wanted to. Let me just say, it went straight through a window of one side of the house and out another window on the other side of the house. And I thought, oh, thank goodness the house is under construction. I'm a young idiot, and I'm thinking, nobody will even know probably. They're building it on a golf course. It's their own fault. I get up there, and it is Ronnie Horton standing there. And he looks at me and says, I should have known it would be Bill Kasko that would hit a golf ball through my windows. And I went, oh, you've got to be kidding me that it's going to be you out of anybody else that it could possibly be.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he said, well, we haven't closed on the house, so I don't even know if that was you or who did it. So anyway, we had a chance to revisit, and it was a great experience to revisit with him and just catch up for 10 minutes. But a few years later, I got a phone call from someone who said he had passed away. Suddenly, it had a brain aneurysm, and was at a meeting in their corporate office. He had been promoted to, now I think he was like the president of the company. He had really moved up. He had made such differences for the company, and he suddenly passed away, and it really hurt. I got, you go through a lot of things in life with the passing of people, but this was one that sunk. It was an open wound. It was something that I just, it was hard to explain. It was hard to explain to people that feeling. Like, how do you tell somebody, oh, my ex-boss passed away, and I'm pretty upset. I mean, most people are like, oh, that's bad. I'm sorry. Then you kind of move on. But it wasn't like that. This was someone who had really laid that groundwork. So years later, I get into this industry and get in this business. We decide to start Frontline. We launch Frontline. We're going down the path. And I had an individual that I had worked with sacking groceries, who had stayed in the business. He had actually been a manager underneath me. I'd mentored him for a couple of years. He kind of grew up in the industry. And when I left, he really stepped into my shoes, but he never left the industry. He stayed in the grocery business. And so we had lunch one day, and he said, geez, I've been doing this for 35 years. I don't know if there's anything else I can even do at this point. And I'm like, Mike, listen, there's so many opportunities out there in life. I go, don't feel like you're stuck in one thing. You take the skill of what you have of people and mentoring and growing and relationships, and you take that and you figure out what can I parlay that into. You don't go to school to do certain things. I didn't go to school to become a recruiter. But my gift of gab and having conversations and understanding people is priceless, because that's what we would do in the grocery store. We would meet people, we would talk to the customers, you built relationships. People actually came and shopped with you. I didn't realize it till years later. I was actually in sales. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And so I tell this to Mike, and Mike says, well, would you ever think about doing a grocery group? And I went, well, I don't know. How much do grocery managers make now? And he told me, and I went, yeah, that's a lot more than what we were being paid 25 years ago. And so Mike came on board and started our executive search group within the grocery store niche. And I told Mike, I said, we gotta make you a little different. So we branded Mike. He's known as Grocery Store Mike. He's kind of a legend because there's no one else in that space. And that was, I think, the moment when Mike and I were sitting there, and both of us looked at each other and said, if it wasn't for Ronnie Horton, because Ronnie had hired him also, we wouldn't be here today. And we started to having this discussion. What did the former company do? What did anybody do? No one ever really did anything. There were conversations. We still knew a lot of people who when we'd see them, we would literally say, gosh, I still can't believe Mr. Horton passed away. And we had become members of the National Grocery Association, and we saw that they had a scholarship program. And I told Mike, I go, I want to do a scholarship. I want us to give back to people just like, and Mike went through the same program, by the way. I said, I want to give back just like someone did for us. Um, these are individuals that we might not know personally, but they have stories and we can listen to their stories and we can pick. I said, let's do 2 of them a year and let's help fund some of their scholarship money and do this. I said, but let's bring the Horton family into this. So let's reach out to Mrs. Horton, who his wife would shop in the store all the time, and their son, Matt. When I was around Matt, he was like 5 years old, right? And so we set up a meeting, went to East Texas, Tyler, had lunch with the Hortons, and I told them our desire and wanted their blessing. And we weren't going to do this unless we had their blessing, number one. Mm-hmm. And number two, from my personal feeling was that I had to have them involved. It really wouldn't be the same if this was just Mike and I doing something. It just didn't give the same feeling. Sure. I needed to have the family involved. And would they make a commitment to once a year reviewing 50 to 100 essays and judging and, giving us a couple that they felt resonated with them. Yeah. And I'll never forget sitting there with Mrs. Horton and her eyes watered up, and it just started kind of flowing. Yeah. And Matt, her son, who looks just like Mr. Horton, which is, as I tell him all the time, it's creepy, weird to me, but he should be proud every moment. And he is. He's a really proud son of his dad, because what came from all of this was that when we launched it, they came out of the woodwork. It was almost like if you build it, they will come. Mm-hmm. And people just started coming out and telling stories. Wow. And the stories over and over and over and over of reaching out to Matt and to Nancy about what an impact he made on their lives. We're talking about individuals that are 65, 70 years old now, in their 40s, who met him when they, were much younger even, who only had a little bit of time to spend with him. Yeah. But just stories on and on about people, successful people, some good stories, some bad stories, some you can't tell stories, but parts that really stuck, stories that the family never heard. And that's the point at which Mike and I realized this was what we were supposed to do. Yeah. And so every year when we do this, in fact, I just put something out about a month ago because the National Grocery Association announced that scholarship stuff is going to start up again. It happens. And people come out and they've done videos and testimonials and we share it. And to me, in fact, it was interesting last year, the National Grocery Association, when they put out the scholarship information, mentioned that the scholarship was from his former company, which wasn't true. I mean, they have nothing to do with this thing. And I called Mike and I said, I am so peed off about this. And I said, but I literally sat there and thought, what would Mr. Horton do? Mm-hmm. Nothing. He'd let them have it because the people that really cared and the people that really need to know the truth.
They know.
And that's what we did. We didn't do anything. We didn't say a word.
Yeah.
We didn't complain, because at the end of the day, it's not about us. Yeah. It was about what someone did that changed our life, that I know for a fact, I'm 100% convinced that not only the man I am today, and I will tell you, I've not always been the best, that's for sure. Made mistakes, just like everyone. But I know that the man I am today, the husband I am today after 31 years of being married, the father I am to my and our 2 grown kids who are unbelievable, and what I give back, I know that I'm the man I am today because of the influence of that one individual.
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
course, there are a lot of other people that influence me, but that is one individual that fundamentally the influence that he put on an individual at that time in my life when I needed it changed who I am today. And I'm a better man because of that. And this is the least I can do to try to give back to make sure that that memory stays on in someone. My desire is that someone receives the scholarship and someday says, I didn't even meet these people, and
yeah,
this is what they did for me.
yeah.
Because we have to pay back and pay forward on what we do, and so you look at today, and a lot of people, you can have all the money in the world, but it doesn't mean you're a happy person.
That's right.
You
That's
can
right.
you can it doesn't bring happiness.
Nope.
And to me, uh, paying it forward is so important, and making sure that those stories live on and history lives on, that people need to know there are a lot of good people out here, and take that and run with it. And so today, I know that this person changed my life. I know this person made me who I am. My work ethic, the continuation of that, showing up to work early, leaving late,
Yeah.
being that leader, that mentor, listening, and then surrounding myself with people that are better than me. It's something that I live by every single day.
Yeah. Wow. What a beautiful story that was, and Bill, I couldn't help you and I, there is a lot of similarities in our backgrounds. I lost my father when I was 16. He didn't leave us. He died of cancer, but I lost him when he was 16. And my uncle, his brother, ended up kind of becoming my father figure in my life for all these years. And my uncle just passed away a month ago and stuff.
Hmm.
And so,
Sorry to
in
hear that.
fact, we just had his memorial service, not last weekend, but the weekend before. And it was, it's, it, and the paper route thing, I'm just like, oh, yeah, I got my first paper route when I was in sixth grade,
Yeah.
and my dad insisted that I save half of the money that I made. And I'm like, I thought that was unreasonable, but I wasn't going to change his mind. I knew that too. And so my answer was, well, I'm just going to get another paper.
Right. Right.
And so,
Yeah.
and by the time I got into ninth grade, I had four paper routes. And so
No,
I was
it's
working
funny.
my tail off.
Yeah, it's funny because obviously told our kids this story, and now you don't even have paper routes,
No, you
right?
don't
And
even do
so
paper routes now. Yeah.
and you look at that and you think, gosh, that just taught me that responsibility of being up in the morning or coming home after
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
And then of course we were in the
Rain,
snow, so
sleet, snow, it didn't matter. The
yeah,
paper got delivered.
my brother had a long bobsled or sled, and we would put it on the sled and pull it up and down the streets.
Mhm.
Uh, and then there was that entrepreneurial piece that started to be built, and it just kind of it resonates. And again, sometimes you leave it and you come back to it.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that when I did leave the grocery industry, one of the things that he told me was, "It's okay."
Yeah.
And he knew it was a hard thing for me to do. And like I said, the day that I put that golf ball through the windows, I think that was such a blessing to see him again, because it was someone that, and again, you have all these different jobs in life. I never once thought about the manager at Palace Fine Foods in Birmingham, Michigan, that I washed dishes at, whatever happened to that guy. That had no influence on me
It's just the
whatsoever.
connection. There wasn't a connection there like there was with you here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But Mr. Horton was something that I had lived it. I was embedded in it. You'd have dreams about going back to work there, maybe, or something. And it was just so powerful that his passing really hit me.
Yeah.
And then why does it happen that you have a connection with someone, 35 years later, you connect back to? That's just not coincidence.
No.
And so the one thing I think for me in particular, over the years, I was raised Catholic. My wife is Baptist, so I think we're like a mix. I don't know what that means. I tell her it means we can drink beer and still dance or something. I don't know, but uh, you put that faith back in God, and after everything we've been through with COVID and things like that, my faith became stronger over the years, and so I just don't take things for granted.
Yeah.
Things happen for a reason, and I'm a very very lucky guy that I get to try to help somebody else out just like I was helped out.
Yeah. Yeah. I really appreciate what you shared about, when somebody else got the credit for that scholarship and stuff, and you were, because it speaks volumes about who you are as a person, Bill,
Wow.
and that the work you're doing is important, and you just know what's going on and stuff, and so if somebody else doesn't know it, that's okay. That's
Yeah.
totally okay. And I know in my world, I get to serve some pretty amazing entrepreneurs. I get to facilitate some relationships that have led to some pretty doggone big deals between just companies doing stuff together, and the end users of that. You know what? They have no idea that I was ever there, that I played any role in that whatsoever. And I'm totally cool with that
Yep.
because I know. I
That's
know, and
right.
that's good enough right there. And it just feels good. And I can only imagine how good it feels for you guys just carrying on your friend's name and carrying on his work and this scholarship
Yeah.
and impacting other lives, because you're not just impacting the lives of the people who get the scholarships. I mean, imagine what those people are doing with those
Right.
scholarships and how many lives are they going on to impact. And
Yeah,
that's
and I think even just having that sounding board for a lot of people. When we opened it up originally, we did a couple of videos and we reached out to some individuals that we knew were very close to him as well, and had them do some testimonial kind of video things of just about it,
yeah,
and a handful reached out to me personally and said, I wasn't at the funeral. I never have had a chance to get. It was like built up in them as well. It was almost this opportunity, like for a little bit of therapy for a bunch of people to say something
yeah,
because they all wanted to and they never had a chance to say it. And so it's really interesting. Obviously, social media, Facebook things, you do that. A lot of this was on LinkedIn, which is different than your normal board, but having people, because it was from a business aspect and because the grocery industry is kind of not transient, but it's a moving target. I mean, you may get into it for a few years, then you get out of it because it's retail. And so you had a lot of people that were touched because he had been there for 20, 30 years, whatever it was.
yeah,
At some point, he made an impact. One gentleman had told a story about how, and actually I think it was Matt, his son, told us the story that the guy came in and was there for about 2 months as a manager, and Mr. Horton went over and said, "Look, I got to fire you." And the guy's like, "You got to be kidding me! What are you talking about?" He goes, "You suck." He goes, "I'm just going to tell you, you're horrible. This is not for you." He goes, "No, no, no, I can do this." And he goes, "No, you can't. You need to go somewhere else, and you need to come back in like 5 years, and you need to go learn all these skills, how to treat people, what to do. I don't know how you got hired here, but you got to go away. You've got to fix all this stuff, and then when you do, come back, and I'll hire you back." And he said the guy was just livid, like, how could you do that to me? Fast forward, the guy goes, he does exactly what he says. He comes back to Mr. Horton, he hired him right back. He said, this is what I did. I did exactly what you said. You were right. I was cocky. I was stupid. I didn't understand. I was in the wrong place. I needed someone to actually tell me that. And you were the only person that's ever actually stood up to me and said something like that. And look where here I am, and I'm ready. And that's the type of person he was. That's how he wanted everyone around him to be, was to be honest with people, and to be straightforward. And people don't want to hear that. I interviewed someone a month ago or so for an internal position with us. We were, I don't know, 3 minutes into the conversation, and I said, "This, like, I don't want to waste your time. This isn't going to be a good fit." And they were like mad, and I said, "Don't get upset. I'm just trying not to waste your time. I'm trying to respect. Let me tell you what you need to do." I go, "You're interviewing for a position with our company, and I said, I appreciate you being honest and telling me you didn't even visit our website, but you don't know anything about us. and I'm out. I go, don't make that mistake again. And I got an email about a week ago from that same person said, thank you, because I just landed a position with another company. And that was the first question they asked. And if it hadn't been for you, I probably wouldn't have done
Mhm.
what you told me.
Yeah.
And so you might make people mad, but at the end of the day, I'm not trying to make anybody mad. I'm trying to help and be honest.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in today's society, people don't like that a lot.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, I mean, there's just so many stories, Kevin. It's crazy at different times and moments, and it's something that will always be with me, and I feel very lucky to have it.
Yeah. Well, that is a really, really powerful story. And Bill, I just want to thank you so much for
Yeah,
taking the time today to have this conversation today, to share from your heart. And my goal for this podcast has always been really simple. For you, the guest, I just want to give you the opportunity to share your story and your experience around this topic of relationships. And then for our listeners who are also entrepreneurs, founders, and CEOs, I want to inspire them to place an intentional focus on creating more real, meaningful, rewarding, and even profitable relationships in their own lives. And Bill, with your help today, man, we definitely we came through on that on spades. And so thank you so much for that.
appreciate the opportunity very much.
Yeah. For
Very
anybody
honored.
that's listening to this going, man, Kevin, I really like Bill. I love how he shows up, and how can they get more information on what you and what you guys do? Any websites, any resources we can share?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're a nationwide professional office staffing agency and executive search firm. You can visit us right at the company, the other way, I guess.
Either way, yep.
Uh, there you go. So it's just frontlinesourcegroup.com. So the name of
Okay.
the company, frontlinesourcegroup.com, or LinkedIn. Go to LinkedIn, follow our page on LinkedIn where we post information, resources. We give a lot of advice. The one
Okay.
beauty that we've instilled in all of our executive recruiters, they write articles probably once or twice every other week or so, and we post them out, put them on our website as well. But encouraging information, thought process, not just about hiring and careers, but just ideas, thoughts, the way that the employment in the world has changed, but also how you have to change. You know, AI is changing a lot of things. A lot of people are worried about that, but I'll tell you something, it's no different than when the internet came out. It's no different when Facebook came out or we had job boards and other things. This is just another phase of technology that's going to help us all get better. And it actually allows us to sharpen our skills. But yeah, visit our website, frontlinesourcegroup.com or LinkedIn, and lots of information to connect. My information's on there as well. If you're in the grocery business, that scholarship, you can Google the Ronnie Horton Scholarship. It's the Ronnie Horton Legacy Scholarship. It is focused around the grocery industry. So it's there's so many independent grocers out there. Very interesting also when we really started looking at that. And after all the talk this past year, especially about inflation and cost of food and everything else, you realize the profit margins for the groups that actually supply our food in this country is so minimal. So
Yeah.
giving that support back to those independents and companies, we just feel very privileged to have that opportunity to be a part of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Bill, once again, thank you so much for taking
Thank
the
you,
time
Kevin.
to have this conversation. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate you. And I'm excited to get this out there and share it with a lot of other entrepreneurs. So thank
I'm
you.
excited to share it for you as well. And I look forward to hopefully connecting with some other people that are out there. And like I said, if anybody does reach out, my information's on the website. You can connect to me on LinkedIn as well. Mention Kevin, and we'll make sure you're taken care of as a we'll take care of your part of the family. How's that?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Bill.
Appreciate it, Kevin, very much.